Hey guys, welcome back to another YouTube video. If you've seen the title of the video, yes, it is. This is on a review of the first week of finals this past weekend, and oh boy, there's a lot to get through here. I mean, 4 finals, 4 brilliant games. And probably, as this title of the video says, I think it is the greatest first week of finals probably the AFL has ever had. Probably, in my opinion. So let's get, of course, straight into it with what happened on Thursday night. Of course, the second elimination final between Brisbane and Richmond at the Gabba. I did say in my preview of that game, in my whole season of the whole finals preview video I did before the game, that it'll probably be high scoring, and bloody oath it was. So it looked like Richmond were going to quarter time with the lead, but then Eric Hipwood launched one from outside 50 after the quarter time siren to level the scores. And then in the second quarter, when Zach Bailey kicked that goal, I thought to myself, "Oh boy, oh no, this is this is gonna get out of hand for Richmond quickly." When Bailey kicked that goal, which was not good defending really from Richmond in that occasion. But in credit to Richmond, they did come back with the next 3, which. I mean, the whole game itself on Thursday night was crazy, literally crazy. Really crazy. I mean, there was 8 goals kicked in the first quarter. There was 9 kicked in the second. 10 in the third, if I can actually do my maths right. Yes, 10 goals in the third term, and it would slow down a bit in the last when there was only like I think there was 5 goals in that last term, but it was really high scoring. It was free flowing, which was, I knew it was going to happen, because obviously the number 1 attack, number 2 attack, the both defenses aren't that great. So it was only a matter of which attack's which defense is going to be better, and which attack would come out of the corner and go whack. And originally it was Richmond, and then Brisbane came back, and the lead changes, I'll say later, was unbelievable. I mean, and then of course there was a bit of controversy surrounding everything, as in, of course, the Tom Lynch kick. So at the time, it was, I think they were up by 4 points. I think they were all 5. I think they were up by 3 points at that stage, and Lynch marked, and I knew straight away. I said to myself, if he kicks this goal, game over. Game over. Richmond win. Brisbane are out, and the Tigers will go on to the second week. Unfortunately, it looked like from his facial expression that he clearly missed it, and apparently the goal umpire ruled it a goal, but it was overturned by the arc and basically made it a behind. And then, and a court which Damien Hardwick went a bit ballistic about, and then went absolutely ballistic about, and then and then of course the winning goal, which I'm still a bit pissed off that it was none other than Joe Danaher who ended up kicking the winning goal. No spoiler alert on that one. Yeah, I just a bit pissed off really because of course he used to play for Essendon and all that. So yeah, he kicked the goal with about exactly a minute left, and Richmond had their chance to win, snatch the game back, but unfortunately it didn't happen. And of course, they actually won by 2 points. So, in terms of the goal scorers, I'll go to Brisbane first. So of course Cameron, Cameron Danaher and Hipwood both got all of them got 3 goals. In terms of and then Archie, Bailey, McCarthy, McCluggage, McStay, Robertson, and first gamer in Darcy Wilmot scored one. All of them scored 1 each as well. And in terms of the Richmond goal scorers, of course, almost said Alistair Lynch for a second. Tom Lynch and Nick Riebold both kicked 3. Not surprisingly, the 2 key forwards in their side kicked the most goals. Bolton kicked 2 it was probably one of his worst games for the year. Because apparently from what I've heard, he went into the centre like about 20 odd times and he didn't get a single clearance, which was unfortunate really. Cochin kicked 1, Cumberland, and then the others who kicked one goal were Cumberland, Martin, McIntosh, the Riolis in Morris Jr. and Daniel, and Tyler Sonsi also kicked 1 as well. The bests for Brisbane, of course, absolutely none. Not surprising, it was Lockie Neal. He was absolutely sensational in that game and single-handedly pulled Brisbane over the line in that game. Then McCluggage, Bailey, Robertson, McStay, and Starcevich. I think Brandon Starcevich, his game was a bit underrated in my opinion on Bolton, and he really did really well against him. The injuries, obviously, Oscar McInerney, he's going to miss this week against Melbourne, because obviously with the concussion rules, obviously, and Dion Prestia injured his hamstring, which is unfortunate for him. We all know in the AFL fraternity he's had a pretty tough record in terms of soft tissue injuries, and this adds to the list. So yeah, and I think he was probably, if Richmond did go over the line in this game, that he probably would not have played in it this week anyways if Richmond did win the game on Thursday. The medical sub, how appropriately that both the medical subs, Brisbane in Calamachi and Richmond in Shane Edwards in his especially his final game of AFL football. Both of them were activated by half time. Of course, Archie in the first, 5-10 minutes of the game, due to McInerney getting knocked out and then or getting concussed, and then Edwards in replace of Prestia, which was a shame really that Prestia went out, because it was because I think originally Robertson had the job on Prestia, and he really kept him quiet the first quarter and a bit of the second quarter. And then it was halfway through the second quarter and the commentators said that Prestia needed to lift. He did. And he was the reason why he got those 3 goals in a row for Richmond after Zach Bailey kicked his goal. So yeah, and then obviously he when it was announced he had the hamstring injury and injured his hamstring, and that was that in the second half. The five disposal getters for each club. Neil, not surprisingly, at the top with 39 touches. McCluggage with 26. Zach Bailey with 24. Very, very rare for him, seeing he's normally a bit of goes down forward and kicks goals, but Bailey got a fair bit of the ball. So too did Dan McStay, because since obviously McInerney went out, they did trial Danaher early on in the game after McInerney got subbed out. It clearly didn't work, so they went to McStay, and he really did. It did reasonably well in those circumstances, really, to be honest. And Zorko got 21 touches as well. Richmond. Toby Nankervis was their top possession getter with 26. Jack Ross and Marlon Pickett both had 23 touches. And then Vlosten had 21 in the back line, and James Short had 20. So for my 3-2-1 for this final series, for my finals MVP, to be honest, just to say, the free votes, it's gotta be one person. It has to be one person. That's Lockie Chalky Neal. It has to be 39. Read you through these stats here. 39 touches, 21 contested possessions, 15 clearances, which I think that is his career best in terms of clearances. 455 metres gained and 9 score involvements. That is massive. That is massive. Massive for him. And I'm sure that Melbourne will have to do something. Midfield will have to do something about Lockie Neal this week. The 2 votes. Toby Nankervis, I think he played a bit of a lone hand, to be honest, in the middle, because I don't think Ross did well, but the other midfielders didn't really offer that much, to be honest. Other than Prestia, but Prestia was out for the whole entire second half when he injured his hamstring. He really did step up, and he really dominated since McInerney got injured, and when he went out and got subbed out, he really dominated. And really capitalised on McStay and Danaher, who aren't really classify them as ruckman. Danaher probably does, but McStay doesn't. And he 26 touches, 18 contested possessions, 41 hitouts, and 9 clearances himself as well. So yeah. And the 1 vote, I believe, this man really I think if he kicked his 4th, probably he would be. I would put him in the 2 votes, but unfortunately he didn't because of that controversial ARC decision, and that is Tom Lynch. I mean, 3 goals, 14 touches, 9 marks, 4 of them contested, and 7 score involvements as well. Meaning that and he almost won them the game. He had a quiet start to the game. I think probably because he didn't have many opportunities, and the midfielders didn't feed him clean ball to him. And then it wasn't until halfway through the second quarter where he really did explode, and he was like that for the rest of the game, and he nearly perhaps won them the game, as I said. So yeah. My honourable mentions, because I don't want to leave anybody outside of the players who got the 3-2-1. Hugh McCluggage also had a fantastic game. I mean, 26 touches, 6 marks, 6 tackles, 11 contested possessions, 6 clearances, and a goal. So Good effort from him. Jack Ross, who was a bit of who was also underrated in my opinion, in that midfield. He went. I think he was, in terms of the actual midfielders, he was actually the best of them when outside of Prestia when he went out. 23 touches, 8 marks, 8 score involvements, and a goal to himself as well. Vlosten did well off the back line for Richmond as well with 21 touches, 8 marks, 11 intercept possessions, and 480 metres gained, which is, I believe, top for Richmond in that game. Now for Brisbane's top scorers, Charlie Cameron, three goals, 11 touches and 6 scoring involvements. That tap to Hipwood to get that goal, I can't remember, I think it was in the second quarter. I think it was before I think after that, that tap back to Hipwood took my breath away. It really did. I was like, oh boy! It took me a while to get my breath. It took me a while to get my breath back from that, because that tap back was absolutely bravissimo, beautiful, absolutely beautiful. It was like he had eyes in the back of his head. Really, we all get amazed by how good Charlie Cameron is, especially when he is forward, when he gets forward and of course kicks goals. Hipwood, he was good as well. It kicked 3 goals, same as Cameron, 3 goals, 11 touches, but this time one less score involvement with 5 score involvements. That goal he kicked after the siren for quarter time, that was a big kick. That was massive. It was a massive kick. And if he didn't kick that, probably they wouldn't have won. They wouldn't have won the game the way they did. But I believe that they really, I think for me, for me, he really kept them in the game, really with his presence up forward. And speaking of presence up forward, Joe Danaher, 3 goals, 14 contested possessions. One of his goals being, of course, the eventual match-winning goal, which I still can't believe that there was 5 or 6 Richmond players in that square, and they didn't even bother to punch the ball through for a rush behind. They just let Danaher just grab the ball and kick the goal with a minute left, which was unfortunate in the end. I think Danaher, he did well. He presented well up forward, but I think he produced at the right time with that match-winning goal. Some match facts also. It is the second time in 12 years that both teams scored 100 points plus in a final. The other one being the 2015 elimination final between the Western Bulldogs and Adelaide. 17 lead changes, which is the most in 20 years, most lead changes in a final that the AFL's had in 20 years. I think a final in 2002. I think that was the last time. They said 20 years, so I assume 2002. I don't know. I don't know which one that is. 21 different goal kickers, 10 from Brisbane, and 11 for Richmond. 5 different players scored 3 goals. That was Joe Danaher, Charlie Cameron, Eric Hipwood, Tom Lynch, and Jack Riewoldt. 32 goals, 18 were scored in that game. That is the most in a final since the 2015 elimination final between the Dogs and the Crows. in a 7-minute spell in the second term, exactly in a 7-minute spell in the middle of the second term, 5 goals were kicked during that. Two from Brisbane, I think, one from Hipwood and one from Zach Bailey, and then afterwards, Richmond slammed on 3 goals on a 3 goals, like bang, 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 just like that, and it really did, yeah. The third term was the highest scoring quarter in the match, that being 10 goals free in that term. And of course, it was the third straight game that was sold out at the Gabba, which is very big. Richmond are out. They've got to be pretty disappointed, but Brisbane march on to versus Melbourne and hopefully get redemption for their horror showing at the Gabba a couple of weeks ago in round 23. So moving on to Friday night's game. Melbourne versus Sydney. This one was pretty much a different game to pretty much a different game, obviously, to what it was on Thursday, the previous night. Of course, it was for the second straight match. It was a goal after the siren, at quarter time. Really, this time it was Bailey Fritsch, I believe, who kicked the goal to make it 10 points at quarter time. Then Sydney came out firing in the second term. They kicked 4 goals to 1 in that second term, opening up a 1-goal lead at half time. Then suddenly probably in the halftime huddle, Simon Goodwin and John Longmire probably had seen the game the previous night and gone, you know what? Let's do a quarter of that on our own, of ourselves. Because Melbourne kicked 5 goals in that third term, while Sydney kicked 6, which exceeded which in accurate fact is 11 goals too, which exceeded the highest scoring quarter of the game the previous night, which was a shock. And we all thought, hang on, this game is starting to turn into a bit of a high scoring encounter. And with Sydney being 12 points up at 3/4 time, and everybody thought, this might be a big one. But then we all remembered Sydney are the best last quarter team in the competition, and they certainly did prove that. They kicked 2 goals, 2 in that last quarter, and keeping the reigning premiers goalless, and they ran away with a 22-point win in the end. For Melbourne, Fritsch kicked 3 in a lone hand in the forward line. Speaking of lone hand, Oliver kicked 2 goals when he was a lone hand in the midfield for Melbourne. And then Brown, Gawn, Pickett, Spargo, and Sparrow also were the other goal scorers for Melbourne. Sydney, Haywood, Jake Lloyd, Papley, and Reid all kicked 2 goals, while Haney, Hickey, Mills, Parker, Rowbottom, and Stevens all scored some as well. The best for Melbourne, no doubt, Stephen May. He was clearly the best. I mean, his job on Buddy was just absolutely unbelievable. I know he gave away some free kicks, which was and a 50-meter penalty, which is a bit harsh, or not a bit harsh. It was very harsh in my opinion. But yeah. Oliver, he played a played a great game. When he was off the ground with cut on his eyebrow and on the side of his cheek. Both times, that really did affect Melbourne. And then after he went off, they never recovered in the end. And then Viney, Petrarca, and Langdon as well. The best for Sydney was Parker. Jake Lloyd, who had a great game. I mean, scored the first two goals of his season. As well. Rowbottom had a magnificent presence as well. So too did Mills, Papley, and Fox as well. The injury, only one injury for Melbourne. Petrarca, course of his leg injury, it was confirmed he had a hairline fracture in his leg. But apparently the reports he's still that Melbourne's confident that he'll be able to play tomorrow for the game against Brisbane, which judging by the Taylor Adams injury, which I'll get to in a bit when I get to the Geelong Collingwood game, yeah, it's not the best idea to rush in play, and also Dusty proved that as well. It's bad to rush in star players even though it's a final. For Sydney, Ollie Florent injured his ankle, which was I didn't know actually he actually injured his ankle during the game, but yeah, let's hope. And anyway, with Sydney now getting a home preliminary final and the week off, hopefully he recovers from that. The medical subs were not used in this game. Joel Smith for Melbourne, and Braden Campbell for Sydney. The top possession getters for Melbourne. Oliver with 29, clearly top for Melbourne. Petrarca with 24, which was not that bad for him, with an injured leg. May, Harms, and Viney all had 23 touches as well. On to Sydney, both Parker and Jake Lloyd both had 25 touches. Rowbottom had 24, Mills had 23, and Ollie Florent had 20. So to my 3-2-1, I think I was close to putting Stephen May at 3 votes due to his job on Buddy and his very good defensive work, but I had to give it to Oliver. I mean, he was the instrumental player in Melbourne's midfield. I mean, he's probably going to win the Brownlow this year, probably, in my opinion. I mean, these stats, 29 touches, 8 tackles, 19 contested possessions, 8 clearances, 10 scoring moments, and 2 goals himself. Really, I think for me solidified that he is a definite favourite, one of the favourites to win the Brownlow this year. So yeah, he gets the 3 votes. The 2 votes goes to Stephen May. A bit harsh in my opinion that he got the 2 votes. Got the 2 votes. 23 touches, 7 marks, 12 contested possessions. Out of the 7 marks, 5 of them were contested. 583 metres gained and 16 intercept possessions that he had in the game as well. And then the 1 vote, I was close to putting Parker in there. Luke Parker, he had a fantastic game and was instrumental for Sydney, but I've gone for Callum Mills. Look at these stats. 23 touches, 11 tackles, 10 contested possessions, 9 inside 50s, 606 metres gained, which I think is a game high, No, that went to Rowbottom, sorry. The second highest in terms of metres gained for the whole game as well. The honourable mentions, this is how much of a lone hand that Oliver and May did. None of which from Melbourne, to be honest. Rowbottom, all from Sydney. Rowbottom got a goal, got 24 touches, 8 tackles, 15 contested possessions, 6 clearances, and 642 metres gained, which was at number 1 in the game in that area. Luke Parker had a fantastic game. I mean, it's tough as always. With a goal, 25 touches, 11 tackles, 17 contested possessions, and 9 clearances. And then Jake Lloyd, I mean, he got 25 touches and 10 marks, but he also added 2 goals as well. One of them from a 50-metre penalty, which I thought Harms may have been a bit of trouble for, but apparently he's been offered a fine for that. So yeah. Only one match factor about the game. Obviously, as I said earlier, the third quarter was the highest scoring quarter of the game with 11 goals, 2 kicked in that third quarter because all of a sudden the players just decided that they want to be they want to produce one quarter like it did the previous night. So I think for me, Sydney are the perfect foil for Geelong. How appropriate, because I'm about to talk about Geelong next. I think for me, I think them and Geelong are the 2 best sides in the competition that are left, in my opinion. I think them at the SCG, I think they'll be tough to beat, and of course Geelong are also unbeatable as well. While Melbourne, they've got a lot of work to do. They could. I think they will still win against Brisbane, but I think they should not take Brisbane lightly. I think because you never know, they probably could come out and just beat Melbourne, but highly unlikely, really. So moving on to the last 2 matches, which was a Super Saturday. So the first qualifying final between Geelong and Collingwood on a twilight. It started at 4:35 at the MCG. At 4:35. Collingwood, I mean, bang, came out of the blocks. Just, it looked like that they shell-shocked Geelong a bit. Well, not shell-shocked, but they shocked them. Surprised them in the way that they played. They played it in that first quarter. Really, to be honest, and Geelong was there going, what the heck's going? This wasn't supposed to happen. So yeah. And then it wasn't until the second quarter, where late in the second quarter, where Geelong in the later stages of the second quarter, where Geelong hit the front for the first time, and then Collingwood hit back to lead by a point at half time. I think Collingwood's accuracy all night, in my opinion, did not help matters. I mean, they kicked 1 goal 5 in that second quarter, to be honest, and I think during, if you count between the middle 2 quarters, I think they kicked 5 goals. I think they kicked about 5 goals 6, which all those 6 behinds were all from. I would assume all 6 of those behinds were all from gettable positions, all from straight in front and all that sort of stuff. So yeah. But still, despite that, Collingwood still held a slender lead at 3/4 time, and then of course Geelong decided, you know what, we're the minor premiers, we're the best team in the competition. Let's go. We've given Collingwood enough of a head start. Let's go, bang, and they got four goals won in that last quarter, to 4 goals to 2 in that last quarter. The last one with Holmes with about 90 seconds left was enough really to win them the game. I mean, Gary Rowan, those 2 goals he kicked in that last quarter were just absolute clutch with a capital C. Absolute clutch. Especially that set shot when I think they kicked a goal. I think Collingwood kicked a goal. I can't remember who it was. And then I mean the lead changed. I think the lead changed hands. Not as much times as it was the whole game on Thursday night, but it changed a hell of a lot. In the last quarter. And then Gary Rowan stepped up. He kicked the goal, and then in the last play that led to the Holmes match-winning goal, it was funny that it looked like that he didn't just drop the mark. It went straight through his arms. It went like that, and it went straight through his arms. And then also made a meal to regather as well. But he just got enough to hand it off to Holmes, who also had a great game and kicked the goal. And gee, I was happy. You could tell I really hate Collingwood. Really tell I hate Collingwood. Because they've won all these matches in tight ones, and finally they really did. Thank God for that. So Geelong won by 6 points. It was probably their worst game of the year, and by far their worst game in this whole streak of wins that they've had recently. And I think it was probably the result they need in terms of at least bang, we need to be up and about again. Because it wasn't like Geelong, led all day, and it wasn't like Geelong led and Collingwood came back and but fell short. Collingwood led for most of that game, and then basically Geelong snatched it in the dying minutes of the game. In terms of goals, I mean, Cameron for Geelong, Jeremy Cameron, on his return from injury, kicked 3 alongside Gary Rowan. I mean, those 2 goals in the last quarter, as I said, they were absolute clutch. Close with 2, and then Hawkins, Duncan, and Holmes with 1 as well, with Holmes kicking the match winner. Collingwood's goal scorers, I mean, DeGoey kicked 2 alongside Johnson. Where the hell did that Collingwood get him from? I mean, I think he's kicked like, what was it like? He's played like 7 games. And he's kicked like, 14, 15 goals. That is just unbelievable. And the goal he kicked in the third quarter were unbelievable. Where I like to call it the snake shot, where basically goes one side. It goes one side, and then, so for example, it goes right and then left, and then bang, it kicks the goal. That's what I like to call it, and it was outrageous, to be honest. From what I've heard, it was absolutely outrageous. And then Cripps, Josh Dacos, Elliott, Hoskett Elliott, Lipinski and Myercheck all kicked 1 for the Pies. The best for Geelong, Jeremy Cameron, for them. He was just brilliant for them. They really enjoyed his presence up forward, and really he was the one that really helped them win the game. And then there was Tom Stewart and Tom Atkins, who was also underrated in that game, and I'll get to that when I get to the 3-2-1, and the 3-2-1 and the honourable mentions. Dangerfield, Rowan, Cam Guthrie, and Mitch Duncan. For Collingwood, I mean Darcy Moore, he was unstoppable in defence for Collingwood. Then Pendlebury, it's still doing what he does. Still doing what he does best. DeGoey, who was probably one of probably the impactful player that Collingwood had. When I get to my 3-2-1 and the honourable mentions, there's Josh Dacos, still side bottom, Jack Crisp, and Noble as well. John Noble as well, and probably one of his it was probably one of Noble's best games for Collingwood, in my opinion, also. So yeah. The injuries, the one injury for Geelong with Jake Kolajasny injuring his knee. He did get injured. He went to the bench, and then at some point he did come back on, but then he went off, and then he was subbed out of the game. Obviously, his knee didn't feel right. For Collingwood, Johnson, of course, injured his thigh during, I think it was the last quarter. And then the big one in Taylor Adams, he went into the game with a groin injury, and how appropriate that he injured his groin in the last quarter, and the club is worried, is concerned that he may have torn his hamstring off the bone, which is not good. It's just not good. Not good for Collingwood, and if that is to be the case, then he'll probably be out for the rest of the season and the rest of the final series, and it'll be a big loss for Collingwood as well. The medical subs for both sides. I mean, Geelong had Mark O'Connor, and he came in for Kolajasny when he went out in the second quarter, and then for Collingwood, Nathan Kruger, who only played the one game, which I think was on Anzac Day, I believe. I think the one game for the year. He replaced Adams in late in the last quarter. The top disposal getters for Geelong. I mean, Selwood kicked 25 goals. Not kicked 25 goals. Gathered 25 touches, I should say. Duncan, Cam Guthrie, and Atkins all got 23 touches, and Dangerfield and Tom Stewart both got 22 touches for the Mighty Catters. For Collingwood, Pendlebury got 34 disposals. Josh Dacos got 29. Noble with 27. DeGoey with 26, and the other Dacos in Nick got 25. So to my 3-2-1, I think, and this one's probably a much more controversial one. I know some of you are just screaming at just say, give the free votes to Jeremy Cameron, or give the free votes to Gary Rowan, but I'm not going to do that, because obviously I'm not that sort of person. Free votes, I think, to Jordan De Goey. I mean, the reason why these stats do not lie. 2 goals, 26 touches, 9 tackles, 12 contested possessions, 8 clearances, 6 inside 50s, and 7 score involvements. Clearly, I like that. That's why I said the most dangerous player on the ground. He clearly juggled between going to midfield and going forward. and he's really it's really licking the lips of St Kilda and Essendon, who are linked to him actually, and yeah, but you never know. He probably, if they have a real impact in the finals, there's a chance that he could stay also. So yeah. The 2 votes, that goes to Scott Pendlebury. I mean, the stats it speak for themselves. 34 touches, 5 tackles, 15 contested possessions, 5 clearances, 6 score involvements, and 7 intercept possessions, which is strange. So basically, he juggled with going to midfield and going into defence sort of thing. Because he did gather 7 intercept possessions, I think, and then the number 1, it goes to Jeremy Cameron. I mean, 3 goals, 17 touches, 5 inside 50s, and 12 scoring moments. He basically won Geelong the game, really. Who is not named Gary Rowan. So yeah. No, just no words. Just leave it off those statistics, really. Honourable mentions, and there's a hell of a lot to get through. I mean, first off, Joel Selwood, age 33 or 34 years of age, one of the two, still going strong. I think he's now overtaken Michael Tuck in terms of finals appearances, which is just. Equaled. I think equaled Michael Tuck's record for finals appearances, with 39, and he's going to make his 40th, I would assume, finals appearance in a couple of weeks' time in the preliminary final. I mean, the stats show. 25 touches, contested 12 contested possessions, 5 clearances, 6 inside 50s, 424 metres gained, 7 score involvements, and 7 score involvements as well. Tom Atkins, I think he's really the underrated one. I think he really added a tough presence for Geelong. I mean, 23 touches, 9 tackles, 16 contested possessions, which was the most for the game. Just thinking about that as well, and 8 clearances, which is I think which is equal the most in the game as well. Gary Rowan, 3 goals, 2 of them being clutch in the last quarter, and setting up, and also to set up the match winner. 14 touches and 7 scoring involvements. Josh Dacos, he really went ballistic. 1 goal, 29 touches, 8 marks, 5 tackles, 8 inside 50s, and 519 metres gained. Cripps, he also had a presence as well for Collingwood, but ironically it wasn't enough. Guthrie also had a good game as well. Dangerfield had a bit of an underrated game, which has also gone under the radar with his 22 touches, 6 tackles, 12 contested possessions, and 8 clearances. Stewart, his reading the play was unbelievable with his 10 intercept possessions, 7 marks, and 22 touches as well. John Noble, I think he played his best game for Collingwood, in my opinion. Ironically, it was in his first final. 27 touches, 6 marks, 5 inside 50s, and 485 metres gained. Steel Sidebottom was also a good one as well, a great one as well. 23 touches, 6 marks, 13 contested possessions, 474 metres gained, and 10 intercept possessions as well. And lastly, Darcy Moore, not surprisingly, he had a fantastic game and was really unstoppable, as I said, in defence for Collingwood, really, in the game. Lead in match facts, lead changes, Collingwood lead changes. There was 11 lead changes, not as much as it was Thursday night, but still. Geelong's first win in finals week 1 since 2016. That was that one where Isaac Smith, ironically, who is playing for Geelong, missed that shot after the siren to lose 4-4, and they lost that game by a kick. And of course, this was expected. Collingwood's first loss of 2022 by single digits. Thank God for that. Thank God finally that happened, to be honest. So Geelong through to a preliminary final, and of course Collingwood, have to go the long way in collecting the Holy Grail. And the last game of week 1, and I probably thought, surely the game this Fremantle Bulldogs game will not live up. Certainly not live up to and it's certainly to the other 3 matches. It didn't in like the first quarter and the half and the first half of the second quarter, where when the Bulldogs were 41 points up at some stage in the second quarter, and that by that stage the Dockers hadn't even kicked a goal yet. But then they came home, and it came to in the halftime like a wind at sail. They kicked the last 3 goals, one of them with a goal after the siren. The third quarter they closed within 6 points, and then Freo just barnstormed home in the last quarter and won the game by 13 points in front of a raucous crowd at Optus Stadium in Perth, to win by 13 points in the end. I mean the Dogs. I mean they kicked the first 6 goals of the game. They only kicked and since then they only kicked what was it, 2 goals 6 after that. And while Fremantle kicked, I think 11-6 with that. So in that same time frame. So yeah. So you can tell here in this video I've got I'm almost to 53 minutes on this video. So I'm trying to speed this up here. Goals for Fremantle. I mean, Walters with 3. Lobb and Amos with 2 in only just his second game. Just fantastic, really. Brayshaw, and then Brayshaw, Sarong, Logue, and O'Driscoll got 1 for the Dockers. For the Dogs, Bontempelli and Joe Hannison both kicked 2, while Darcy, Dunkley, Waitman, and Rourke Smith got 1 each. Fremantle's best, not surprisingly, their two best were their 2 star midfielders in Sarong and Brayshaw. Not surprisingly there. Walters, and then it was Walters, Young, Pearce, Ryan, Clark, and Sean Darcy. And then the Western Bulldogs' best, and non-surprisingly, it was Marcus Bontempelli. He played a lone hand for them in that game. Then McRae, Gardner, Dunkley, Treloar, Daniel, and McLean there as well. In terms of injuries, I mean, Fremantle, they did lose O'Driscoll early on in the game with a left ankle, but he did come back on and play out the rest of the game, even scored a goal in the last quarter. And then Joe Hannison injured his hamstring for the Bulldogs as well, which meant leading on to the medical sub. He got subbed out and replaced by Robbie McComb in the last quarter, while Bailey Banfield, it looked like he was going to come on in place of O'Driscoll, but unfortunately, that didn't happen, and he ended up being unused. The disposal the top disposal getters for Fremantle, Sarong with 33, Brayshaw 32, Ryan with 31. Young was tremendous in defence with 28, and Chapman with 27. In terms of the Western Bulldogs, I mean, Jack McRae with 34, Bontempelli with 30, Caleb Daniel with 29, Treloar with 26, and Lockie Hunter with 25. The 3-2-1, the 3-2-1, the 3-2-1, I mean, I have to, I was close to giving it to Sarong, but I think Bontempelli, I mean, played a lone hand. I mean, 2 goals, 30 touches, 9 marks, 7 tackles, 13 contested possessions, 635 metres gained, and 7 scoring moments. He was pretty much everywhere for the Bulldogs. 2 votes goes to Caleb Sarong. He really did play a big role in Freo's massive comeback. Comeback really. And really, with a goal, 33 touches, 6 tackles, 16 contested possessions, 10 clearances, and 5 score involvements. And the 1 vote goes to Jack McRae, 34 touches, 6 marks, 13 contested possessions, 10 inside 50s, and 9 score involvements. Run you through very quickly the honourable mentions. Of course, Andrew Brayshaw, who was another one who's probably a big smoky to win the Brownlow. Has had a fantastic season, and this game was no exception. Logan Ryan, he was fantastic in that game. It's 680 meters gained for the whole game. It was unbelievable out of defence for there. Speaking of defence, Young, Harry Young for Fremantle. I mean, 28 touches, 11 marks, and 7 intercept possessions. He was fantastic in defence for Fremantle, I think, and which was probably a game where probably he's announced himself as probably one of the probably could be as potentially one of the best young backs in the game, young key backs in the game. Michael Walters, he also did his bit with 3 goals and 18 touches and 7 scoring involvements. Jai Amos, I mean, he really did present up forward. I mean, 2 goals, 6 marks, and 3 contested possessions. I like the way when the thing was in the second quarter. No, the first quarter when they were absolutely struggling. He had a set shot from, 25 or 30 meters out on a slight angle, and he missed it. And most of it would have gone, most forwards would go, with their hands down, but he didn't. He kept on presenting the ball. I love his set shot routine where he does the cricket, thing where he counts the steps and that. I really love that thing. So I think Amos, I think he is I think their future key forward for them. And finally, Josh Dunkley. I mean, 23 touches, a goal, 23 touches, 14 tackles, 15 contested possessions, 7 clearances, and a goal for Josh Dunkley, possibly in what could be his final game as a Bulldog, probably. Match facts, the obvious one, the Dogs kicked the first 6 goals of the game. Then they opened up, in the 9-minute mark of the second quarter, opened up a 41-point lead. Freo kicked their first goal of the game 20 and a half minutes into the second quarter. Fremantle didn't take the lead, believe it or not, until the 8th minute mark, until 8 minutes into the last quarter. And then the other most obvious one the Dockers kicked 11 of the last 13 goals of the game to run away with the win by 13 points. So their season continues on while the Bulldogs' season has come to a grinding halt. So that is, and also one last thing, I've got to say one last thing before I wrap up this video, before I do the outro of this video. It has to be a week 1 record for match attendance. Like, there was 35,000 at the Gabba on Thursday night. There was almost 78,500 there for the qualifying final. It was over 90,000 for the at the MC next day at the MCG, and then there was like almost 59,000 at Optus Stadium later that night. So that has to be in my opinion, it has to be a week 1 finals record with the attendance. Surely, no doubt, it's the best. It's the best this season. No doubt about it. No doubt about it. I mean, at the Gabba, with 3 straight games sold out. At Optus Stadium, it was the largest home crowd the largest crowd that the Dockers have had for a home game. Absolute craziness, and I'm full. And I will not be surprised when we come to grand final day, there'll be 100,000 people at the MCG. I will not be surprised if that happens, to be honest. So 4 brilliant finals, and that's just only week 1. We got 3 more weeks of this to go, and we've already seen 4 brilliant matches. We've got this 2 semi-finals, we've got the 2 prelims, and the grand final, and the big one at the grand final, the Holy Grail. And whoever wins that Holy Grail, that is the Premiership Cup, they've definitely deserved it. They definitely have. So like this video, share this to anybody who is a Brisbane fan or a Sydney fan, or a Sydney fan, Geelong fan, or any other fan that his side is in the finals this year. Comment down below. Do you agree with me that this is the greatest week 1 of finals of all time? Of all time, do you agree with me, or if you don't, what year was the best? Comment down below your opinion. And one last thing, somewhere down there, click on the big red button which is labeled subscribe. So until next time, guys, I'll see you guys later, and wherever you may be, may the sunshine or the moon shine on you.